everybody, welcome to a brand new show. My name is T, and of course we are talking scary movies. I appreciate you tuning in here. Keep in mind, every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, I'll have an episode going up where I'll have movie news, we'll have interviews, or an opinion piece for you, like the one that we're going to be talking here tonight on the world of X. And I always release multiple reviews throughout the week, and the best way to stay on top of all the content that I'm putting out for all of you is to get subscribed to my Linktree. And you can do that by going to linktr.ee/T Scary Movie. If you get subscribed to my Linktree, that's going to give you access to the YouTube page for the video versions of the show, to your favorite podcasting platforms for the audio only versions of the show, to my Letterboxd page for my written reviews and my movie rankings throughout the year, to my TikTok page for my short horror content, including movie news and movie premieres, to my page so you catch all my horror gaming, and to my Fangoria shop page. You're going to enjoy my 20% off discount, anything in the Fangoria shop, including a subscription to the physical magazine. So take advantage of that. Get subscribed to my Linktree, and if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe there, as the more viewers and subscribers I get, more content that I'm putting out for all of you. So, like I kind of just briefly mentioned here, tonight I'm going to be discussing the world of the X trilogy. We just got the release of Maxine, right now at least the third and final film in Ty West's trilogy that also includes Pearl and X. So we're going to kind of talk about those three here tonight. We're not going to review them. I've already done that. There'll be links here for all three of those reviews later on in the show. We're going to kind of discuss that world a little bit in tonight's show. But before we get there, we do have a little bit of movie news to discuss with y'all as well too. So we knew that there was another installment coming in the VHS franchise. If you haven't checked this one out here before, VHS kicked off about 12 years ago here as an anthology franchise that had different tales being told throughout the various installments, different directors, writers, actors all involved to give you these terrifying stories told on a vast variety of different forms of medium, but it's all found footage basically. Some have been really, really good, some not so good there, but this franchise has been going strong for 12 years now, believe it or not, and we are getting our latest entry here, which will be VHS Beyond, which is set to premiere on Shudder October 4th. Now, your boy's gonna have to try to get an early copy of that because I will be in Universal Studios during that time attending Halloween Horror Nights, so I'm not gonna be able to catch that premiere and get a review out that weekend. So gotta figure out something. Shudder, hook your boy up with an advanced copy of VHS Beyond so I can take a look at this one. But what's crazy about it is that today we actually got some of the information on the filmmakers who are making up the various installments of VHS Beyond. Now, we've confirmed here that there are at least 5 different installments here. We don't know whether or not that includes the wraparound story or not, because that's the way these VHS films work out, is that you do have the various individual tales in there, but there's some kind of wraparound story setting up why we're looking at all these tapes to begin with. But some notable names here. Kate Siegel, who you know from all the wonderful Mike Flanagan Netflix series, but also from the fantastic slasher Hush, is directing a segment here entitled Stowaway that will be written by Mike Flanagan. That's going to be absolutely excellent. No word yet on whether or not Kate Siegel herself will actually be starring in this segment. Crossing our fingers, hoping so, because phenomenal team there between the two of them, and excited to see her directing work. But not only that, but there'll be a segment titled Fur Babies that is written and directed by siblings Christian and Justin Long. Yes, that is right. One of our favorites in the horror world. Justin Long is coming to the world of VHS to help write and direct this segment. And again, kind of like Kate Siegel's segment, we have no idea whether or not Justin Long will be appearing in this segment as well, but we're gonna hope so, because Justin Long and horror equals great things. And we still have a few other segments as well too. There's Stork, which is going to be directed by Jordan Downey, co-written by him and Kevin Stewart. We have Live and Let Die, that was directed by Justin Martinez, and a story by Justin Martinez and Ben Turner, with the screenplay being written by Ben Turner. And then we have Dream Girl, that was directed by Virat Pal and was co-written written by him and Evan Dixon. So for sure, 5 stories, 5 segments so far here for VHS Beyond. I'm sure we're going to learn a little bit more as we get closer and closer to the October release date. But if you've not had a chance to check this franchise out, it's definitely one that you want to go see for sure. Y'all know me, I love anthology horror. So the fact that we have so many films in this franchise at this point, like what is it? Is this the 6th installment? This is either the 6th installment or it's the 7th installment, but you have so many stories across this here, like it's just as good as a season of Creepshow. So go and check those out here. Get yourself ready for the October debut of VHS Beyond. That's not the only thing we have here to discuss in movie news, though, as it was confirmed that the 4th and final installment of the theatrical Conjuring series, The Conjuring 4 as it's called right now, is going to be hitting theaters September 5th, 2025. Now, of course, our lead actors Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga are coming back to reprise their roles as the Warrens. The script was written by David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick, who wrote The Conjuring 2, which is arguably the best film in the entire franchise, and Michael Chavez, who did The Nun 2, which came out to way good reviews after the first one was a absolute nightmare, and did the last mainstream Conjuring film, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, is returning for directing duties. Now, we don't have any firm confirmation of what this story is really going to talk about, and what's interesting as well is that it was announced that there is a TV series that's being developed for Max that's currently in development, and we don't know whether or not that's actually going to play along with these films. We have to imagine it's going to be set within the same universe, but then the question comes up of whether or not it's going to be focusing on Ed and Lorraine Warren, or if it'll focus on, you know, their kid instead now, as like the third Annabelle film, Annabelle Comes Home, really shifted the focus from them over to their daughter. So that's a very big possibility of what that TV series could end up focusing on, but we have a lot of good Conjuring stuff coming out here over the next couple of years for sure. I'm very much hoping that this film can end up doing a better job than The Devil Made Me Do It. I just wasn't a big fan of that one, honestly. And again, I know they're taking these stories from the Warrens' true lives and everything, but I think the problem is that it just wasn't as engaging, because the first 2 films very much ghost stories, very much these demonic possession stories that are not rooted in reality is not the right word, but I guess they're taken as a heightened sense of reality. So there's not that many issues watching it and just like kind of just getting immersed in what you're checking out. But the third film, The Devil Made Me Do It, adding in so much of the legal aspect of it, and I know it's a true story, right? But adding in so much police involvement, so much legal involvement this time around, the court case, all of that just didn't make it as interesting as I felt the first 2 films really were, honestly. The scares seem very few and far between, and not only that, but it was more of a physical haunting or a physical possession going on as opposed to something otherworldly coming up, because in the first 2 films we were firmly establishing that it's a demon, you know, that's doing all this to them. But this third film, like, yeah, there's some demonic play involved, but somebody is very much manipulating the situation. And I'm not saying that in itself is a bad idea for the Conjuring franchise, but it was just such a sharp turn from what we had gotten in those first 2 films. I couldn't enjoy it as much as I did those first 2. And combine that with the fact that last year I got a chance to see Ghost Watch, which is now one of my favorite films ever. It's gonna be really hard for them to like not raise the stakes on this one. Like, I hope they have a really juicy case that the Warrens did they can focus on. And I know that also the bigger issue here is that while we're focusing on real life characters, we are still progressing time. And so they're getting older in this series and not doing a lot of the same stuff that they might have done like in those first 2 films. So in this 4th one, is that problem going to get even worse? Don't know. Waiting for more story details, but either way, we know Conjuring 4 is set to come out September 5th, 2025. We'll absolutely be covering that for you. So that's it for movie news. Time to move into the heart of tonight's episode. Like I mentioned, folks, we just got the release of Ti West's Maxine. This is the 3rd film in the trilogy that includes Pearl and X. So tonight I thought it'd be a good idea for us to discuss this trilogy, what went really right, what I feel could use a little bit of work, and presumably what could be coming in the future for this franchise as well too. Now, if you haven't seen the trailers for these films here before, which is how I usually start these off, this trilogy takes place over the course of 70 years or so, focusing on two young women and the different paths that they take to try to get everything that they want, and sometimes how they'll go above and beyond and out of the realm of legality to get those things that they want as well too. Now, Ty West introduced us to these characters in 2022 when a cadre of friends and strippers and porn performers traveled to a farmhouse in Texas to shoot a brand new pornographic film that's set to revolutionize the industry, because things are turning now and we're getting bigger and better and different kind of porn than what's been developed before. And as a way to save a little bit of money and make it more cost efficient for them, they decide rather than to shoot nearby where they're all coming from, that they're going to go and find this farmhouse and this owner and pay them a little bit less and make a big success off of it. Now, of course, when they get there, things seem off, and our lead character, Maxine Meeks, played by Mia Goth, is very much looking to gain that fame for herself. She envisions herself as this star, and that the world has these great things set for her, and she's going to do whatever it takes to get what she wants. Now, Maxine isn't presented as somebody who's, what's the word I'm looking for there? She's not conceited, she's not full of herself, she's not ignorant to her friends that are around her or to, the problems that other people are facing, for sure. It's just Maxine is very, very much, what's the word? It's just that Maxine is very much on a one-track mind to make her dreams come true. There's a bit of implication prior to, like, when we get towards the end of the film that talks a bit about, like, what Maxine's past would have been, and maybe some of the more strict upbringing that she came through that she had to escape to really enter this life that she wants. Because X is very much framed in a way that what these people are doing is very taboo, it's very secretive, it's very hush hush, to the fact that they're literally like going to somebody else's place in order to actually film this. They're going on the road to shoot this, and they don't want the owners to find out. And it's interesting because obviously back in the late 70s, 1979, when this takes place, the rules and regulations of stuff like pornography were very, very much different. But everybody's going through such magnificent lengths to keep everything covered up and keep everything quiet that they're working on. And I find that interesting because as we move forward to Maxine and just a couple years later, that's the opposite of what we're really trying to do. And Ty West really takes the time in X to focus so much on Maxine Meeks and like just the presence that she has. There's a big, obviously a big focus that we should understand that Maxine is a star, and this intensity in her that does set her apart from a number of other actresses that are out there. And that's saying a lot because Ty West put Brittany Snow in this film as like basically the second female lead of the film, and Brittany Snow eats that camera up, honestly. Like this is one of those cases to where it's almost like the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, to where it's like, well, we like Rooney Mara a lot, and Nancy is supposed to be the main character, but if you wanted to let Chris be the lead, it wouldn't be that bad of an idea going that way. That's just the way it is. And it's kind of the same thing here in X. Like, Maxine is definitely our star, and we gotta follow Maxine. There's a much more interesting story in there. But we can't overlook that Brittany Snow's Bobby Lynn Parker is a firecracker, honestly. Like, she is so fun to watch. And honestly, in another life, this series could have focused on Brittany Snow and Bobby Lynn as opposed to focusing on Maxine Meeks, but I digress. What also makes X so interesting out of the three films as well is the fact that it is a slasher film. The villain of the movie, Pearl, you know, we look at her as the villain because she's obviously killing all these people off with the help of her husband Howard, but realistically when you look at it and we go to the movie Pearl, we kind of find out a lot of the motivation and the reasoning behind Pearl's mindset. That Pearl had these big things envisioned for herself the same way that Maxine Minx does. But the issue is that Pearl didn't have the same kind of drive and determination that Maxine did. Maxine refused to accept a life that she didn't deserve. And she was going to do whatever it took to get this life that she wanted. Whatever it took. Didn't matter who she had to step on or step over, who she had to lie, how to kill, how to maim. She was going to do what it takes to get this life. And Pearl, unfortunately, is only willing to kind of do like the bare minimum and has to really be pushed in order to take these extra steps. That could be something that has to do with the time that Pearl grew up in, because this is in 1918, I think is when Pearl is set. Like, it's set a long time ago. This is for sure at least 50 years prior to when X happened. Things were incredibly different at that point, to where Pearl wouldn't have had even half the options that Maxine Minx does. And that's crazy to say for something that's said in 1979, because everything is still so taboo and strict back then. Had to be even worse in 1918. So Pearl is living this locked in, very sheltered, unfulfilling life, and she wants the same thing Maxine does. She wants to be a star. She wants to be the focus of everybody's attention. She wants that adoration because she doesn't get it from her family. She doesn't really have friends. She's the only one that's able to really build herself up, and she feels that she finally deserves the world turning that back to her. And so she's going to do what it takes to try to get it, but when it fails, when she's not given the answer that she wants, it completely changes her reality at that point. And all these murders start to accrue around her. Now, as it is, Pearl very much seems like not so much an opportunist, but somebody who just, after years and years of abuse, was someone that was going to snap, and they were going to end up doing a number of things that they might regret in the moment, but it's just getting over that hurdle to do them in the first place. And it's interesting that that's the way that a lot of the murders in Pearl are framed, to where a lot of these they wouldn't have happened had somebody said a very different thing to her, because she responds very negatively and very overtly than what she should, for sure. But a lot of this seems like it could have been avoided by people just taking an extra second to take some care with the way that they're speaking to her. Whether this is like the projectionist that we're discussing, to where, she sleeps with this projectionist, has this life thought out, but then he starts noticing and realizing all these things about Pearl. And it's one of those things to where, well, if you had approached that situation just slightly differently, you probably would have lived through that. With her parents, her mom very much could have made some different choices in the way to approach interactivity with Pearl as well. But coming from her mom's standpoint, she had an even worse life than Pearl did, with nobody to help her, and now she's kind of continuing that cycle. And even though Pearl wants to break that cycle herself, Pearl's not willing to do all that much to actually help break it the way that it should, to stop these curses and get into something new. And it's interesting because, again, that does lead to her and her murderous rampage in X, because when she sees Maxine arrive and the freedom that Maxine and her friends have making this porno film, and that they truly get to live the kind of life that they want to, and that Maxine is going to achieve her dream, like she's going to get it one way or the other and she won't stop fighting for it, Pearl sees a lot of herself in Maxine. She sees them being the same person. And so I think that it's easy to look at Pearl's somewhat seduction of Maxine in X and think that that's what it is that that's Pearl trying to sleep with Maxine or something like that. But in reality, I think it's that Pearl just sees herself so much represented in Maxine that it's her trying to really regain her old self, to regain her old sense, to become her old self. And it's one of those things where you can't do that. Like, you can't become somebody else. Like, they're literally right there. You don't have the ability to transcend that. And when she realizes that, it drives her even crazier. And so Pearl is so necessary to establish the reason why all these murders in X has to happen, to get especially Maxine pushed to that point to where she can achieve her dreams. Because who knows, if there's not a push like this, does Maxine just wallow in mediocrity? Does anything come out of this porno if these deaths and things don't occur? And the thing is, we don't know that, but it really certainly feels like it might not, that these various murders really pushed her to go and do something grander with her life. And that of course leads into Maxine, that Maxine is trying to go legit. And even more so interesting, one thing that stood out about that is that Ty West makes the choice that there aren't any nude scenes for Mia Goth in that film. And we've transcended that because that's what X was about, was her grinding through this low-level work in order to get to something legitimate. And with Pearl, how Pearl had to kind of do the same thing but didn't achieve her dream, now that Maxine's there, does she have to do the same shit that she was doing before? And clearly, she doesn't have to do that, but it turns out she's going to have to do something even worse. The same thing that Pearl did to try to achieve her dreams is the same thing that Maxine is going to have to do as well too. And that dynamic is fascinating, knowing that they're doing it for two different reasons. And Pearl just had a psychotic break and pretty much is lashing out at everybody around her, while Maxine is taking out these people that are a danger not only to her, but to her friends and to her peers in this industry as well. And that her stopping them will push her ahead, but it's completely different motivations than the reason why Pearl was doing it. This is a tremendous trilogy. It is one of the best trilogies that we've ever gotten in the world of horror, no matter what my thoughts are on the lack of horror in Pearl and in Maxine. It's a phenomenal trilogy. And while it does great for actors like Mia Goth and Kevin Bacon and Brittany Snow and most of the cast of X, I do feel that the cast of Maxine is left wanting a little bit more, and with a lot of really great names in there, I think that might be the most egregious error of this trilogy. The simple fact that they're not utilized to their full potential the way they have been in the prior films. And so I do hope, with Ty West and Kid Cudi teasing another team project that they're going to be doing together here, I do hope that if we're looking at a fourth entry in this, we kind of wrap things back up by circling around years later to Maxine now more experienced and having lived this Hollywood life, and her struggling to hold on to it by doing some nefarious things. I think that's an obvious way to go with this. Honestly, I think another way you could do it is introduce a new starlet that's in the same vein as Maxine or Pearl was, and that now Maxine is this jaded actress who is looking to kill to maintain her spot, and that she'll kill this new actress if it means that she can hold on to her spot just a little bit longer. I don't know. I'm interested in it though either way. This franchise has been phenomenal. You guys need to go check it all out. Maxine's in theaters right now. And before I forget, we are still giving away one of these Tall Man Funko Pops at the end of the month. So I want to know in the comment section, just let me know, what was your favorite out of the trilogy? Pearl, X, or Maxine? Leave that comment there on the YouTube page. And folks, that's all you need to get entered for a chance to win a Tall Man Funko Pop. But that's going to do it for us here tonight, folks. I appreciate you checking out the show. Hit that subscribe button. I got the Long Legs review coming for you in just a couple of days. But that's it. My name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared. Boy here is a big fan of Fangoria. So, if you want to check out the world's best horror magazine that's out there, get a chance to get yourself your own subscription, which I just got my first one back in 2022, and I don't regret it for a second. But if you want your own Fangoria subscription, or you like the Fangoria merchandise, then head over to the Fangoria shop and use my link if you want to save yourself some money, folks. That's an easy one to remember. Just go to shop.fangoria.com/AXDEW. Again, that's shop.fangoria.com/AXDEW, or use my specific code AXDEW at checkout. You can save 20% off your entire order, and that implies 2 subscription and one-time orders as well. You don't want to miss out, folks, because with the magnitude of horror movies we've had released in the last few years, and with what we have on the horizon, Fangoria is going to be your #1 source for all that great, juicy, bloody information in the world of horror. So again, head to shop.fangoria.com. Hey there, folks! Thanks for tuning in to T-Watch This Scary Movie. I appreciate you checking out another review or movie news, whether we're talking movies, TV shows, books, or games, whatever, it's all scary. Remember, you can check out new episodes every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on the YouTube page for video. That's youtube.com/C/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. Again, youtube.com/C/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. And you can check out the audio version on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Just search T Watch the Scary Movie or TWASM. Don't forget, my name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.